Hello, gorgeous souls. I am so excited to take you through an energy update today because we have some big things happening, some big magic in the sky, and I want to talk about it. So, we didn't go into an energy update last week because we had the eclipse. We had, so much energy building and really dismantling us. And so, in that, I wanted to leave space for the process without too much expectation, too much, control that we like to put onto our experience. I wanted to just let you be in it. And so that's why I just had the lunar eclipse actual ritual where we were just, being in the energy and moving through this portal together. And I didn't really offer too much guidance past what I had given the week before around working with eclipses because sometimes we just have to feel it to heal it, right? So I wanted to just preface with when we're moving through energies, when we're learning astrology, when we're really tapping into being cosmic beings who are, working with our codes, we have to feel the experience. We have to feel the process. And we really have to take a minute and tap into what the energy is creating within us, what it's doing to us. I mean, I don't want to say that as like a victimhood. It's not doing anything to us, but how the sensation's moving through the body, what it's invoking within you, and then what actions you're taking based on those feelings, those sensations, those emotions, that experience. So really, when we're learning about astrology, when we're learning about energy, when we're working through the cosmic rhythms, my biggest teaching for you, if you take anything away from working with me, from listening to me, from connecting with me, is you have to feel it. It can't just be this analytical experience, okay? And as we're moving into Gemini season, let's talk about that. Maybe that is exactly where this is leading because, as you guys know, I say, I don't lead the conversations. I'm just a channel. I step aside and I see, who wants to come through, who wants to talk, planetary, sign, God, goddess, whatever. And that idea of staying in our minds is so Gemini. And so, yes, we're coming to the season of, being a little more analytical, of being very focused on the details, of very coming into a place of being very connected to the information, right? This is the information time of the year where our brains buzz and, time moves a little bit faster and we have this processing going on all the time, right? Gemini is the learner, the communicator, but also the cosmic joker. So when we are feeling these experiences, that's what I want you to do. I want you to feel them. I want you to process them. I want you to be in the experience. And yes, you're going to use your mind to, flush out the information. Yes, you're going to tap into your thoughts. You're going to, go maybe to your journal, onto paper, or into your phone, or however it is you use analytical information to process. You're going to use that. But then can you remember to feel, okay? Because, looking at the charts is a very Gemini thing. We're using a tangible data point to flush out information. And that's great and that's wonderful. And, you know that it's my favorite tool in the whole world. That's how I channel, is through the chart. But what about the feeling, right? What about the sensations going on in our body that, Gemini is bringing to us, for instance, at this time? How does it feel to move into Gemini season? And we have to remember that. How does it feel during Mercury Retrograde? And now Mercury has moved into Taurus. How does that feel, right? How does it feel to have Mars conjunct Jupiter today? How does it feel to be in the process of all this cosmic engagement and, tapping into momentary glimpses of energy is how we can really understand the energies. And then we have to remember that we're in this layered experience. It's not just one energy, right? It's not just the sun in Gemini, or it's not just Mars in Pisces, or Mars in Aries. Actually, today Mars just moved into Aries. So it's not just that. It's the multidimensional experience of the sky and all factors coming into this. And then we feel into it. And we could be a little more conscious in that feeling of, yeah, I'd really like to tap into Mars today. I'd really like to tap into what Mars has to say, what Jupiter has to say, what the nodes are telling me right now. We can do that work. But remembering that there is a multidimensional experience happening. And so we have to, feel. We have to be in it. And through that, there's so much healing that can happen. Okay. So as we're tapping into this, I really wanted to note and ask you guys, how are you feeling in this Mercury retrograde? Because we've talked a lot about Mercury retrograde at this point. Many of you were able to join me during the Mercury retrograde reset masterclass, and you'll notice, if you're working deeper with retrogrades and, coming to understand them on a deeper level, you're going to notice that this retrograde might feel different for you than it ever has before. And that's something I noticed when I began to work deeper with what Mercury retrograde actually means for me, where it's showing up in my chart, what it's offering me in my life, and really those cycles. It's not just Mercury retrograde is one experience, and you guys will know that from our conversations before or from the masterclass that Mercury retrograde has its phases, right? And each phase does something different. And when we know that, when we have those tools, this is where the magic comes in, is when we have those tools in our tool belt, we know how we can make it through a process with a little bit more ease. So I'll give you guys an example of the start of Mercury retrograde. I knew that first week was going to be that cleaning out phase, right? That clearing and cleaning phase. And that is when my husband and I decided that we are buying a motorhome and we are going to live on the road, and we're not going to be tied down to anything anymore. We're going to travel. We're going to go and experience as much life as we can at this time. And that's something we've talked about for 3 years. That confirmation came in during Mercury retrograde. That conversation comes up during the second Mercury retrograde of every single year. First or second, sometimes it wavers. But usually it's that pre or in summer Mercury retrograde that shows us we are meant to go live on the road. We are meant to go live wild. We are meant to go into, a more unique way of living. That confirmation came in. I knew that first week was going to be a clearing out. So what was that clearing out for me? It was a clearing out of all the shit I had to let go of, to know that I'm leaving my life here behind. I'm leaving my people here behind. I'm leaving everything I've built here behind. And not only that, now I need to sell everything I own. Now I need to, get rid of all these plants that I have nurtured for 4 years. I need to let go of all these things that have been mine or I've been attached to. So I have to clear that all out. And then I had to clear a lot of expectations out. That first week I had to do a lot of that work. Usually it's me clearing out my phone or clearing out my computer or clearing out, my closets. This time it was clearing out everything. So I knew that going into it, and I was prepared for that clearing out. And even though the energy was extra buzzy and extra intense, I was in a present state of just allowing. So I'm wondering if through the knowledge you've gained about Mercury retrograde, if you are in that state of allowing, if you are in more of a receiving state, or, able to let go of things that are not working, not showing up for you, not in alignment for you, so that you can do, your next step. You can be your next level. You can show up as your next version of yourself. Does that feel in alignment? And as we're moving officially today into that third week, you've had a week, we've had the Mercury Cazimi, we've had this moment of epiphany of like, aha, I get it. This is what needed to go, or this is why it needed to go. This is why I'm feeling this way. Clarity moments come through. And as we're moving into this energy this week, is very much around like, what do we want to create? What seeds are we planting? Where are we heading? So I'm wondering how you guys are feeling, because I've noticed over the last couple of years, every time I work deeper and deeper with Mercury retrograde, and this year is the first one where I really feel like, I get it. Like, this is an energy I love and work with all the time because it is a natal energy for me, but this is the first year it clicked, because this is the first year I surrendered. This is the first year I trusted. Every year previous to this year, I'm like, yeah, okay, I know what to do during Mercury retrograde. I know what it expects of me. I know what it's asking of me. This was the first year I let it happen. This was the first year I, opened my arms and just laid back and free fell. And in that free fall, yes, a lot of fear came up, but a lot of good came up. A lot of magic came up. And in that magic, I'm going to be living a new version of me that I've been wanting for a long time. And though that terrifies me, guys, it absolutely terrifies me. It is exactly what Mercury needed of me. It's exactly what the eclipses needed and were asking of me. And so the free fall was everything. So I'm wondering how you guys are feeling. Are you feeling a little bit more easy in this retrograde? Are you feeling a little bit in more of a state of allowing? Are you open to whatever's coming through, to receiving, to all that good stuff? I want to know, because I'm really feeling that shift. And so I'm interested to see if you guys are kind of tapping into that surrender state as well. Okay, so prefacing with all that beautiful, information, thoughts around Mercury, around the eclipses, around all the good stuff, we get to tap into what I have mentioned to you guys around this journey we're headed on, okay? Because we have beautiful Jupiter, 2 degrees into Aries at this point. It was what I was talking to you guys about, the new journey, okay? The new quest. And whenever we're working with Jupiter, we know that Jupiter has a quest. It has a quest for something, and usually that quest is for higher knowledge, or, to expand into a higher state, to become more full of wisdom. And when it's in Aries, that quest is for independence, that quest is for sovereignty, that quest is for creation. And it is the new journey. So when we're tapping into Aries karmically, in karmic astrology, when we look back on Aries and what it represents in a past life, we know that Aries means this soul or this energy force brings about the energy of the pioneer, okay? The person who is a trailblazer, the person who has possibly had to have done things alone, gone off into the wilderness to start anew, gone to a different world, to a different place, to start, from scratch, to create, to, birth something new. And I don't want you guys to confuse that in the sense of Sagittarius, which is like the wanderer who goes into other cultures and, assimilates or learns or discovers and, is just wandering around kind of absorbing new wisdomous information, though that energy is here because we have Jupiter. But Aries, as we speak about Aries, as a solo energy for a second, it is the quest to start a new society, a new creation, a new something, okay? It's the independent travel to go into the world and, birth a new idea. And so if we just think about it as someone like going into a place and just creating a new town or a new city or a new anything, they go and they birth this new thing. It's very much the energy of the pioneer, the trailblazer. And when Jupiter, now we can bring in all that Sagittarius energy of like the wisdom, right? The learning, the quest for that independence comes in. Now we know that we are on the quest to create something new. It's a new journey. Aries is that first sign that really brings us into birth processes. And so we're birthing something new, and that journey means like we're on a quest for independence. It could be body sovereignty. It could be to reclaim our power. Another karmic way of tapping into Aries is tapping into the warrior spirit, right? These souls, or Aries energy in general, has had to fight, had to fight to survive, had to fight to protect, had to fight to stand their ground. It's not necessarily the easiest energy in the sense of like karmically these people had to, war. And that to them is natural. War is natural. To fight is natural. To really blaze forward is natural. And so we come to this blend of the two. And it offers us so much guidance around the quest of new opportunities. You are, beginning a new quest and really questioning what that quest is. And so right now, today, we have Mars moving into this energy force of Aries as well. Mars coming into its natural placement of Aries. It's very comfortable there. It's like, let's light this shit up. Let's fight. Let's go. Let's roar. Let's initiate. Let's create something new. It's a great word to latch on to for right now, is initiation. And Jupiter is expanding the energy of Mars. It's like, let's really go. Let's fight. Like, let's war. Let's start something new. Let's initiate. It's like big. Let's grow and expand that energy of Mars. And in Aries is like all this energy is hopped up on steroids. We've got the moon there too. We've got Chiron moving through that energy. And we do have dear Venus there as well. So we've got this stacked energy in Aries right now, just bringing us into that energy of the quest. And you know what? We're going to have to fight for it. We're going to have to stand our ground. We're going to have to speak up. We're going to have to use our voice and be independent and strong and really tap into the warrior spirit in order to lead. So it's interesting that this is coming up right now as I'm having this program birth through me around, being a new paradigm leader. And this is the energy of Jupiter in Aries, is being a new paradigm leader, okay? And we got Mars there really, really lighting it the fuck up. Really, really turning it up to a level like 20 out of 10, because you are being invited to become a new paradigm leader in whatever it is you're doing, whether you are, whether you have a spiritual business, whether you're, a healer or not, whether you are just, doing the job that you've got to do right now to put money on the table. That's totally fine. Whether you are, whatever it is you're doing, if you're doing something right now and you're listening to this, it's because you're becoming a new paradigm leader. Okay, and that activation of Jupiter right now is like, what are you leading? What is your charge? What are you here to do on, this planet and the new version of this planet that we're building together? So what is your leadership role? And that leadership role is going to look very different for all of us. For some of us, we're going to be stepping into online spaces and speaking our truth and coming out and teaching ancient knowledge, or, channeled knowledge, or, anything it is. But for some of us, it's going to be, being a stay-at-home mother, or learning and teaching people how to homestead, or, really going into the world and teaching people how to run their businesses, showing people how to, lumberjack, for God's sake, coming back to the earth, how to build a house out of wood, craftsmanship, how to do life slower. Very Taurus vibes, there is something for you to teach this world, to do this world. And you might think that it has to look like what I'm doing right now with you, but it doesn't. You showing up as your natural leader is the work, right? As the leader that you are meant to be. And that leader might be just in your community. It might just be in your home. It might be just at like your workplace, but it also might be in online spaces. It might be speaking to millions of people, whatever it is. It's like, that is the energy. Okay. So we have this force activating us to, turn that sacred fire on and lead the charge. So the question is, what is your role in all of this? What is turning you on? And then we have to tap into like, what is that authentic desire within you? So leaning out of that Aries energy for a minute, though it is very, very potent right now, and I want us to like keep that sacred fire turned on. Let's turn over to Gemini. As we have tapped into Gemini season, the sun has transitioned into Gemini, and she is hanging out conjunct Hecate right now, because Hecate is just all up in the mix of everything right now. And we do have Lilith here as well. The sun is approaching Lilith in Gemini, and we've got this Gemini conversation happening. We've still got this Taurus conversation happening with Uranus, the North Node, and Mercury in retrograde in Taurus. So we have this Gemini conversation, and when we're talking about Gemini, it really is about becoming, curious, becoming a learner. And I was actually listening to a really great podcast, actually from 2 years ago, that popped up on my podcast from my original mentor, astrology mentor, Daphne Romanoff. If you guys don't follow her, gosh, she is brilliant. So highly suggest you go follow her work. And she mentioned something in this podcast today. The podcast was all about Gemini, and it was about 3 business guidance points. I can't remember exactly what it's called, for Gemini season. Okay. Because she really focuses on business and, leading your business through astrology. That's her sacred magic. And it is so, so good. And she discussed this conversation around, being a learner. I can't even remember how exactly she put it, but basically it was about, when we are curious and learning, we actually have to absorb and apply that knowledge, okay? So what she had said in the podcast that really hit home for me was around, am I actually willing to grow? Am I actually willing to take all the learnings that I have, all the information we gather, very Gemini, and am I willing to apply it? And that really hit home because there's so many things that I want to do, that, I want to learn, I want to process. And I'm sure you feel the same, where we have these stacks of books, these podcasts we save, these programs we want to do. But how are we integrating the knowledge? How is the knowledge changing our lives? And that's where we lean into that Sagittarius, is like, what is that knowledge, or how does that knowledge become a belief system, right? How does that knowledge physically, mentally, spiritually make us grow? And so that really hit home in this place of, when we are learning, what is the purpose of our learning? Do we have a purpose of a learning? And Gemini can be very, very curious to the point of not having any application. And that's where we get our Virgo help, is that's where we apply and be a little more analytical of like, what's useful, what's not useful, what's practical, what's not practical. But Gemini can be so curious. So I want us to be in 2 levels of Gemini mindset as we move through the Sun and Gemini energy, is like, can we be curious? Can we learn? Can we absorb? Can we see, the duality and the polarity of everything? The 2 sides, the twins, the 2 sides, the black, the white, the yin, the yang. Can we see all of that? And can we be conscious of like our absorption, what we're absorbing, and is it helpful? Is it, and it doesn't always need to be helpful, right? We can be consuming content just because it's enjoyable. But are we willing to apply some of it, right? If you are, say, joining me for It's Karmic and getting certified as a karmic astrologer, what is your why? Why do you want the knowledge? Why do you want to become a karmic astrologer? Why are you seeking that knowledge, right? Versus some, and there's no right or wrong here, but some people just want to keep learning without an actual application point of the knowledge. And again, neither is right or wrong, but can we have a little more discernment of like, why are we curious about things? And I think when we find our place in that curiosity of what triggered it, what made it so interesting to us, is like, there's actually a purpose point in there, or there's something for our journey that we're finding within it. There's a nugget, there's like a gift within the knowledge that's actually meant to help us move forward, or something we're supposed to integrate into our teaching, something we're supposed to integrate into our learnings that's actually meant to be pivotal to our process. But are we able to actually apply it, right? There's so many things I want to do. So many changes I want to make in my life. I'm human and I'm not perfect. And there are things I want to let go of that don't serve me. There are consumptions that don't serve me, like watching like just trash TV or a lot of Netflix. I know that doesn't support me, and I want to shift into reading books because it actually fills me up when I'm reading fantasy novels, or when I'm reading about astrology. I get lit up. But when I watch TV, when I watch movies, it actually doesn't light me up at all. It doesn't serve me. But there is a knowing that those books are going to serve me. They're going to light me up. They're going to make me feel so good. I'm going to get so lost and entangled in that world. There's a knowing of that, knowing that is part of my process, but there is a lack of possibly desire to change, to put in the effort to shift. So I have to be, in that clarity and ownership of, that there isn't the desire to grow. There's a disconnect, right? So really knowing, am I willing to make that change? Am I willing to make that shift? And so that's where I'm getting right now, is like, what will help me make that shift? What will help me drop things that are not in alignment? My bad vices, we're all going to have vices. That's okay. But letting go of my vices so that I can, be more curious, have more space for things that actually light me up and support my Gemini nature, which is, I have my Gemini Mars in the 8th house. So that is natural for me to be curious, to be seeking, and to go into those depths there. But I have to find my discernment, which is why we have to lean a little bit to the other side into Sagittarius, is like, taking that knowledge and forming it into belief systems. Why do we want so much knowledge? Why are we so curious? And there's nothing wrong with our curiosity. We want to keep that, right? It's the good of Gemini, it's the curious state. And really, really living with more consciousness of what we're consuming, right? How we're speaking to ourselves. These are big things with Gemini. It's like our voice, our throat chakra. How are we speaking to ourselves? How are we, speaking in our minds to ourselves? What thoughts do we have around ourselves and others that need to shift into more healthy mindsets, healthy affirmations, healthy processing? All of it needs to come up, and we need to be watching our tongues. We could say things at this time, and God, do I know this as a Gemini Mars, I cut with my tongue. When I'm backed into a corner, it's like, I will cut you with my tongue, So we can be more conscious of our language, more conscious of the things we say and how our words affect people, how our words hurt people, but also having the gall to say no, to say fuck off, to say like, this is my boundary and you're crossing it, and all those good things. So it is this mixture of, the discernment, finding a healthy version of our voices, and then really tapping into play. That's the thing I also want to invite you into as we have Gemini moving through, or the sun moving through Gemini, is play, okay? Because the sun's going to link up with Lilith as well in the next, maybe week or so. Depends on, actually, it'll kind of be bopping around. The true Lilith moves around kind of erratically, so she's going to probably touch the sun a few times. We will feel that activation of a loss of our voice, okay? Maybe this desire to speak on taboo topics, maybe this desire to speak on our sexual desires, maybe this desire to feel like really turned on in ourselves, but unable to use our voices, afraid to use our voices, afraid to challenge toxic patriarchal energies, afraid to challenge anyone who goes against you. So as we have this energy moving through, and we've got Hecate here too, there is an invitation to take our voices back right now. So I actually want to question you around like where you are feeling safe to use your voice and where you're not feeling safe to use your voice. And this is a great thing that's coming up actually for me that was prompted today around someone on one of my videos on TikTok, basically, asking me if I was allowed to use Palo Santo in my practice, and the gatekeeping that comes through on so many platforms because people think they know your story. They think they know your background. They think they know your teachers. They think they know, they assume that you are not educated or aware of sacred practices. And when this all came up, I felt that shift in my throat chakra of being like accused of something, right? Accused of doing something wrong. This is very linked to our witch wounds, right? Our wounds around like speaking our truth and then, being persecuted for it. And, this person has no idea of my practice, my teachers who gave me that Palo Santo, who gave me my drum, who gave me my cedar smudge, who gave me, all my tools that I use, and the conversations and level of conversation and depth that I've had with indigenous souls, the one who made my drum, the one who gave me my cedar smudge, the depth of the conversations I've had with these cultures around using these practices. And her purpose, though I'm not going to make too many assumptions, but the purpose of this comment was clearly to shame. And so I know that if I'm receiving it, others are receiving this attempt at shame through words, attempt to shut down my voice through her words. And, I'm going to hope there was no malice intended, but the energy of my throat that I experienced, this closing of like, oh, like I can't speak. I can't, say something back around this person. I can't protect my own energy field around this experience, which is very much that Hecate Sun connection. Having to find our way, having to find our power, our voice, our ability to speak our truth. And we've got Lilith in there too. It is a 10-degree conjunction today, but like that is coming through too, of people trying to take our voices, people trying to shut us down through shame. And the only way people know how to do it is through shaming, right? So we are being invited as a collective in this moment to find our voice, and in that to find our power of our voice, right? We have all that Aries energy coming in too, that warrior, okay? The Gemini, Aries, like mix that we have in the sky right now, and then the Taurus too. But we have this mix asking us to find our power and speak our truth. And when we find our power through that Aries energy, know your quest, know your journey, know where you're headed, be in alignment with your truth, then you never have to apologize for anything. And speak your truth, speak it out and own it with clarity, with, great depth. Then again, there's no need to apologize for anything. There's no need to feel shame for anything, because you are living in true alignment with yourself, with the universe, with your soul, with your journey, with the journey that you intended to come here to experience. So that shame can never be there, right? And just know that it's going to come up, right? You're going to feel that moment where, you feel like you can't use your voice, and it's okay. So finding practices to, own that inner warrior. And that's big work for me too, guys. If you know my chart at all, I've got a Libra rising at 26 degrees. And so sometimes it is hard for me to use my voice. Thank goodness for my progressed Scorpio rising. But it isn't the easiest thing for me to speak out against someone who is coming at me and trying to shame me. And that's my work and my ownership. My descendant being in Aries is like, God, I need my Aries people in my life to light that fire up for me and help me speak out and protect myself. So we get to lean into that today. We get to lean into the energy of Aries, activating our inner fire and saying like, yeah, protect yourself, like stand up for yourself. It's okay, and lead your quest, lead your journey. There are always going to be haters. There are always going to be people judging you. And the greater you do in this world, the more magic you spread, the more love you spread, the more power you spread in this world, you're going to keep on getting haters, because people automatically, wounded people want to bring you down into their level. And so that is the only way they know how, is through shame. Okay. So we have to be very aware of standing in our power right now, using our voices, and with all the energy in Taurus too, it's like, really tapping into your self-worth, really claiming your worth for what it is. And when you know your self-worth, ain't nobody gonna shake you. Nothing is gonna shake you. Nothing is gonna rattle you, because you have a sense of self, right? A strong sense of who you are. You're living in alignment. You're doing you, and it's all good. It's all good. So we know At this point, the warrior is being turned on. Karmically, okay, yeah, we're working through some stuff around our independence. We're working through some stuff around having to blaze our own path, blaze your path forward. You guys know the example of my example is like perfect right now of stepping into a life of literally moving onto the road, claiming my independence as what it is, what it's going to look like. This is the first time in my life where I'm going to be the one fully, supporting myself and my husband. And that's my independent quest right now, is really claiming that and fighting for what I want, fighting for, living life in alignment with my dream and my vision and nobody else's, right? The world told me that it had to look some other way. And I said, no, it's not going to look that way. It's not going to look that way for me. And that's my path. That's my quest as we have this Jupiter Aries transit, and then Mars is just lighting me the hell up right now. But what's your quest? What is your new journey? What is your new quest? And it might not feel 100% new depending on what's happening in your chart, but there is something here for you. There is a door, okay? There is an opportunity. So can you witness it? And as we have this closing phase of Mercury retrograde, this last week before it stations direct and then goes into shadow period, set intentions. What is your quest? What do you want? What is the vision? Really tap into your self-worth, your body, your pleasure, your ability to experience and enjoy being here on earth. And remember to lead with love. Lead through your heart, and everything will always be okay. So I'm sending you guys so much love today. So much universal love, pure love, all the love. If you guys loved this, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. There's so many, so many of us that need these messages right now. If it resonated, please pass it on. Make sure you like and subscribe it. It really helps me grow, and I appreciate every comment, every, DM, all of it. I love hearing from you guys. So please, help me do this work. Help me share this work. Help me connect in, and I will connect with you on the next one.